programs. This followed an impasse in negotiations between SABC and MultiChoice on broadcast rights for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. On Monday, this past Monday, I had a discussion with the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies, Minister Zizi, and subsequently met with senior executives of the SABC. I urged the public broadcaster at this meeting to find a solution to the impasse with MultiChoice. I made it clear in this meeting that my interest in this matter was for all South Africans who have access to sport of national interest. I also made it clear in this meeting that we need to find a permanent solution to this matter, as this goes beyond just rugby. All South Africans need to be able to watch our sport teams perform on international platforms. Yesterday's development, where MultiChoice agreed to sub-license broadcast rights to SABC for 2023 Rugby World Cup, means that millions of South Africans will be able to watch this global showpiece and to see the Springboks go on to defend the world title. I want to reiterate my call for a permanent solution to be found, as we cannot find ourselves in this situation before major sporting events. The 2023 Rugby World Cup begins later today. The Springboks, the world champions, the defending champions, played their first game on Sunday against Scotland. The Springboks represent the best of South Africa. They inspire national unity and foster social cohesion and national identity. This was captured by former President Nelson Mandela during the 1995 World Cup, where the Springboks were the key ingredient of his message of national unity. The current Springboks represent our country's diversity, and also represent South Africa's excellence with their performance. On behalf of all South Africans, I would like to wish the Bokke all the best in the World Cup. Do your best and make us proud. Bring it back. School sport is a bedrock of sport development in the country. On Thursday and Friday next week, 14 and 15 September, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture will host a school sport in Indaba. The Indaba takes place following the end of a current memorandum of understanding between the Department of Sports and Culture and the Department of Basic Education, which ensured that there was a regular and optimal participation at a grassroots level in the country. The Indaba takes place under the theme towards an integrated and united sports program. The vision of School Sports Indaba is to unify the school sports sector and to develop an innovative and progressive program that will contribute towards an active and a winning nation. Key stakeholders and role players, as well as experts, have been invited to share their expertise, experiences, and international benchmarks. The Indaba will reflect on the diversity and the delivery of school sport program since the dawn of our democracy, the challenges faced and the progress made in the implementation of country's school sport program. The Sport Indaba will provide guidelines on a new implementing model and protocol for school sport. I look forward to welcoming all of you as experts, as journalists, and authors to this important endeavor. Thank you very much. Questions?
Minister from Kaya FM, I just wanted to find out, what does a permanent solution look like? Because the rights game is a very difficult one, because MultiChoice will acquire them directly from whatever global federation there is to broadcast that event. We also have a Cricket World Cup next month. Are we going to find ourselves at the same impasse again in a month's time?
My approach is that, like we said when we intervened in the issue of Banyana Banyana and SAFA, quite saddens me that at the door of the tournament, we are not able to find each other. Whereas we knew that since 2019 and now, 4 years, we should have anticipated the issues about SABC as well as MultiChoice. So that's the issue of leadership. I leave that aside. As you know, the issues about broadcast rights in South Africa are now before the Competition Commission. We hope that ruling will be made soon, and I think that ruling or pronouncement will help us to find a permanent solution. Because as it is, it's not sustainable. You have a public broadcaster with a public mandate. And I think, as you know, majority of South Africans, whether we are talking about Molechi in Limpopo, Mutwi in KwaZulu-Natal, Tsendane in the Eastern Cape, majority of them, they still rely on analog and radio. And therefore, if you were to cut them off, you will deny them access to these important events, and these events which are very important for nation building. And I think that pronouncement will help us to find a solution, a permanent solution. That's what we're talking about.
Nani Harris from ENCA. So, Minister, we know that SABC would have had to pay 37 million if they got the rights to broadcast the Rugby World Cup. But now we know that they only got 14 matches that they're going to broadcast.
16.
16, yes. How do we know how much they actually paid for the 16 matches? And also, I think I wanted to speak with Pila's question as well, like, in the future, how are we going to fix this and have everything available to South Africans, and especially now because also OVHD didn't get a chance to be able to broadcast to the other people that can't afford MultiChoice and DSTV.
I think given the experience, we should have as a country a broader discussion, a conversation about sport rights.
Yes.
Whether indeed the public broadcaster with the public mandate should be treated the same as MultiChoice and others. And I think it's a matter of regulatory environment. Hence, I hope these matters, as they are before the Competition Commission, should be able to give us some indication. In my view, if we were to ask, I think, given the mandate of a public broadcaster, it can be treated the same. And I hope that as we go to the Competition Commission, we'll make that determination. Because the public broadcaster has got this bigger audience that takes into account the reality of South Africa.
Yes.
That we've got people from Engotu who cannot afford to be on a bouquet.
Yes.
And therefore it's important that these developments, which are about nation building, which are about social cohesion, they too are not excluded. And that is the mandate of the department. That is where we come in to say, you can't exclude the majority of South Africans because they cannot afford to be on the bouquet. And I think this groundbreaking agreement must set us a path that says what it then becomes. We hope that the leadership of both institutions, beyond just the Rugby World Cup, there's Cricket World Cup coming, there's Athletics South Africa, all the games, wherever they are played internationally, it's important that we can't have this knee-jerk approach that this federation is playing abroad, therefore there will be this dispute and impasse between SABC. And so I'm talking about a conversation, learning from experience, so that we do not find ourselves where we are today. Next question.
Minister, what was your role in those negotiations? Because, I mean, we speak about global tournaments like World Cups, but there's other incoming tours. I mean, SABC weren't able to broadcast the recent series between South Africa and Australia in the cricket. So what has been your role in trying to solve the impasse, not only for this particular event, but also going forward?
I think there are lessons to be learned. I think a few months back, we grew up watching Comrades Marathon. So at about 5 a.m. I get calls that, why is Comrades Marathon not on SABC? And I immediately try to find out why. As you know that the issues about federations is about money today. And whether indeed some of the federations, this is a conversation we must have ourselves as a department. Some of the federations in reality is that they may think that there is no money at SABC and they follow where money is. And by so doing, they may leave out majority of people who cannot afford. And that is a conversation we must have. How do you keep federations under SABC, which in itself is facing financial challenges? What other financial revenues you may want to have? The government on its own obviously cannot afford that. We need to talk to corporate citizens and see how best we sustain SABC, because it's an important platform as a public broadcaster with a public mandate. It's a conversation that we must have honestly going forward. Otherwise, we'll continue to find ourselves to be where we're at. And
the board's role in all these conversations?
I don't have a board. I can't speak on behalf of SABC. And I'm avoiding to make any comments about MultiChoice as well as SABC. I'm sure the shareholder rep responsible may want to comment about it. I implored them when I met with them that in the interest of the national interest, as well as making sure that for the growth and development of sport in the country, it's important that we locate your discussion and conversation in the context of social cohesion and nation building, because sport plays an important part to define who we are. And the sport, the way it has come up post-COVID, it will be really a damper at this moment where we are the world champs. We are having this conversation. We shouldn't be having this conversation as world champs. And it's unfortunate where we are, but I think we've made a breakthrough. I think let's leave about the past, let's focus on the future. I look forward to 16 games. I have no doubt that we will join them at the finals. The president of the country is ready. He has already diarized the 28th. That will be in France, like all of us.
Just on a more positive note then, Minister, you speak about school sport and the importance of it, and obviously the Indaba is something that wants to grow that grassroots level. How important is it to, I mean, you speak about the World Cup, you have to start somewhere to get to a World Cup. How important is it for the department to prioritize school sport and make sure that there are platforms and infrastructure and a lot of things that make school sport so that we can see the development in the more professional settings?
Most successful sporting nations, you can talk about Australia, New Zealand, and many others, they've got a very good school sport foundation system. We had similar things in the past. You had something called Wednesday, called PE, not Port Elizabeth, but physical education. But I think there are certain things that from a policy point of view we need to align. So that we too, if we're talking about a winning nation going forward as a vision, we need to have a very good grassroots and school sport system. That's where it must start. And I think at the moment it's everywhere. Part of what is envisaged by the school sport in Dama is to align everything. Department of Basic Education, ourselves, because if we have a vision of becoming the world champs across sporting codes, we must start with a good sporting foundation. And that will be, the sport in Daba will herald that future.
Minister, you didn't answer my question about how much did SABC pay now for the 16 games?
Well, I can only confirm what is in the public domain, that SABC paid $3 million US. What was the demand? I don't know. What was offered? I don't know. That's why we decided not to be involved in the negotiations, except to say, we implore you to find a solution. I'm sure both MultiChoice as well as SABC, the agreement, they did not maximally achieve the commercial value that they wanted. But because they appreciated the conversations I had with them, that you may not be the best, that makes commercial sense. You may want 5 million, SABC may have this. I'm sure SABC made a loss. But I think in the national interest, to avoid that loss again, the negotiations of the next World Cup, of the Cricket World Cup, of Athletics South Africa must commence now. Except to note that I'm the only one who's wearing a Broker Friday.
But that's an old one.
No, yeah, because we are the champs of 2019.
Okay.
I implore, not only to blame yourselves, look at the officials from the department. I'm embarrassed.
Don't you want to sponsor us, Minister?
I'm embarrassed by officials from the department. The school's Sports Friday is Broker Friday. I'm the only one except the DG, to whom I want to thank the team, as well as advisors, Ray and Max, who made sure that we worked 24 hours to get us where we are. It was sleepless nights, it was not easy, but I want to thank all of them who was involved. Thank you very much.